Welcome everyone to another show. Welcome everyone to another edition of Unravel Your Mind. We're here to help transform relationships to love and life. So it's Sunday, 11/11, a beautiful time. And we're going to jump right in with some questions that came in this week. I'm excited to share some insights. And one of the things that someone asked me, they didn't necessarily submit this as a question, but they asked me recently, why do you start at 11/11? And so I thought, I never really answered that question. So I'm going to read what I actually looked up online because it's easier than trying to explain it myself. But 11/11 is an auspicious number. And so according to the online experts, in numerology, the number 1 symbolizes the start or inception of something beautiful. It may also mean you are blessed with positive energy, optimism, and ambition. It is no coincidence when you see a repeated sequence of the number 1111. Pay close attention to the meaning the angels are presenting before you. Something meaningful is about to take place in your life. All this depends on what you are currently going through in life. So again, I took that off the internet, but I think that it really symbolizes what the show is all about. Is it's always about new beginnings. It's new beginnings of how we're going to look at something, how that we get that mental thought construct unraveled, and how we're going to move forward in a state of bliss and get back to that neutral, blissfully neutral state that I like to talk about so much. But in the end, if Axel were sitting here, you might know Axel from my book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics, my spiritual advisor. I guess I call him my spiritual healer in the book. We would laugh and say, it means absolutely nothing. When we're really talking about divineness and oneness, all of these ideas and concepts don't necessarily matter, but we're not living in that same level of vibration right now. And so guides, our angels, numerology and astrology and all these things can be very helpful for us to guide us on our way. So 11/11, a very auspicious number. I love the number. I do see it a lot. And I love that it's the way that we start the show. So 11:11 a.m. every Sunday, Pacific time, that is. And you should hit the bell and subscribe, because that way you'll know. It'll give you alerts when we come back on live. So I'm super happy you're here. If you're with me live on Zoom, I'll be checking the Zoom chat. And if you're on YouTube, hang tight. I'll toggle back and forth and see what your questions are there as well. So if you are watching this on replay, please, by all means, ask the questions in the comments. I will answer them in the next week's show. So it's okay if you're watching on replay. Most people do. It's a fun way to, watch on demand. So let's dive right into the questions for this week that we're going to cover off on. Let me check here. This was actually one that I wasn't sure if I covered last week. So if I'm repeating, forgive me, but it's a good one anyway. But it's very simple. When my boyfriend leaves, I feel drained. Why? And I think it depends upon the whole situation. So it's a little bit of an ominous question. But I think oftentimes what happens is we give our light away in relationship. We give our light away in ways that we don't even realize. And so if you're feeling exhausted when someone's left, and it's not because you haven't gotten any sleep, but that you're actually feeling energetically drained, I would say take a really close look at what kind of relationship you have with this person, because potentially they are sucking off of your light and you're allowing them to, so you're not a victim. But I would just really, really feel into what is the dynamic, the deeper dynamic of this relationship, and what is my soul trying to tell me through my body system, right? So if your body is fatigued, it's telling you something. It's giving you some feedback that when you're not in that, love illusion, when you're together, that you're separating, you're just having a little bit more time with yourself to ground, to connect to your higher self, and ask the question, why am I feeling so drained? Maybe it's that you're just giving too much and not getting enough. chances are there's an imbalance in giving and receiving. So just feel into this. I can't tell you exactly because I don't know all the dynamics of your situation, but I can tell you that if you really, really sit with this, journaling is another great way to get a little bit deeper into what is it that is causing this discord for me. Because in relationships, we should feel energized. In any relationship, whether it's a lover, a brother, a mother, it's when the giving and receiving is the same. It's when we're outputting our love, we're sharing our love, and they're sharing their love and light back with us. And if we're not feeling that exchange, then there's a lesson in there, a deep lesson actually. So it doesn't have to be perceived as a bad thing. I think it's only unnecessary when we don't actually listen. Then Spirit's telling us something, and we're choosing to not actually find out what is the juicy pearl and the nugget that we're needing to uncover. All right, let's go to the next one here. Okay, so part of the subtitle of your book says Unravel Your Mind, and that's the name of the show. What does that mean, and how do we do it? So unraveling your mind is really all about getting to the thought constructs that you may not even know are running your life. A lot of times we call it the ego mind, and the ego mind is not bad. The ego mind can be really unfruitful for us because it can take us down the rabbit hole, and it takes us into the rabbit hole with all the programs that we were instilled with. So those are where maybe some of that mind mess is not as advantageous for us. But unraveling the mind means that you're getting into those programs, those things that were instilled in you, oftentimes at the youngest possible age, imprinted on you, situations that happened that give you the ideas of who you are in this matrix, in this system that we call planet Earth, and the reflections that we get from other people. So it's really, really important that as you're unraveling your mind, you're looking deeper at the beliefs that you think that you hold, and going a little bit deeper into, is that true? Is that true? Is that true? Because most of the times it's not true, because we know that only love is real, which is in some ways a hard concept to really embody, but it's not. Once you've felt it and you know it, you just want to keep going back to it. So unraveling your mind is getting into those beliefs that we carry and we hold. And how do we know what we believe? Well, first of all, listen to yourself. You'll hear yourself say, well, I believe, and then something will come out of your mouth, and then you'll know that there's a belief there. Another way to know if there's a belief coming forward, especially the ones that are really not serving your highest good, is things that happen to you in the external environment. So things happen and you're like, why did that happen? Who, did I deserve that? Did I call that in? And you did call it in. And I know it sounds wacky and weird sometimes especially when it's something that's deep suffering, but we have called these things into our life. And so it's always about doing the deeper work to realize, what's in the lesson for me? How do I dig deeper to reframe this and see what the pearl is, the pearl of wisdom, not the suffering side of it, right? But oftentimes our mind wants to just focus in on that suffering. I'm suffering, and you did it to me. And I would just offer that when we're starting to unravel the mind, we start to realize, ooh, I'm the co-creator here, and I am participating in this. I am asking these other souls to come in and play this role. In fact, I just was telling a friend of mine about this incredible book. I've probably mentioned it before. It's A Little Soul in the Sun, and it was written by Neil Donald Walsh. It is actually a child's book. I'll put the link in the notes below. It is a child's book, but it's written for all of us. And it talks all about how we've called in these souls into our life to play these roles, and how we set it up. It's our soul contract with someone. We come in and we have no remembrance typically of this, unless you're very psychic, then you might be able to get some of the interesting nuggets about what's coming. And they're here to play a role for us. And the role that they play is to help us awaken. Now, sometimes they themselves are awakening agents like you, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're agents of the matrix to challenge you and to push you and to not make you feel supported and not make you feel like you know what you're talking about. And so it's really important to understand the people in your life. Are they awakening agents? Are they illuminating your awakening and supporting you in your awakening? Or are they the agents of the matrix, which are just holding you into this lower vibrational field, holding you into these thought constructs and ideations of how the world works, to lower your vibration, because that's what happens as we get reflections from the external world that don't make us feel great, that make us lower our vibration. It doesn't have to be bad. It just needs to be looked at. It needs to be felt into, like, why is this happening? What is in this lower vibration for me? Actually, this is a really kind of embarrassing story to tell, but just recently, just over the last couple of days, I've just had a lot of intestinal issues, and I just haven't been able to eliminate out of my system. And I'm so frustrated when this happens, because I'm always looking for the clue, like, what is it? Like, why am I holding this in? And we know that our intestinal system has a lot to do with how we're digesting our life. Yes, I said it, how we're digesting our life. And so there is something in there that is in conflict with our life. And so I had to do some deep dives, and I did some journaling, and got an incredible, not incredible in the way that it was like, but it was incredible in the way that it was like, wow, like this message that came through from a situation when I was probably like 11 years old, and something that happened to me in that time of my life came through, and I was like, wow, now that is something to really look at, because I don't have any conscious memory of it. So that's another way that we're unraveling our mind, is when we get shown pictures and we get shown situations, and we, our body is speaking to us, other people are speaking to us, our lovers are speaking to us, not always in ways that we like. Those are the times to really pay attention. In fact, I think sometimes when our life is going so well, we spend a lot of time celebrating, which is great. And then when our life isn't going so well, we spend that time in that deep contemplation. And that deep contemplation does get rewarded, even though I don't really like the word reward. It does produce results. It does produce an opportunity for us to expand our consciousness and awaken to a whole nother level. So unraveling your mind is really important, especially right now. Everything that's happening in the external environment that feels a bit harsh and a bit heavy is here for you to really dive into. And just kind of going back to my personal situation, I realize every time this happens to me that I've collected a lot of stuff and a lot of ideas and things that I'm up for releasing. And so, the little phrase, like, when somebody's full of shit, well, sometimes I'm full of shit, and I have to find ways to take not only what's in my physical body, but take what's in my mental body and my aura and my energy, and release that along with that plug. So it's always coming for a reason, and I always just take it. In fact, the train just went by, and a dear friend of mine who also lives near the train had said that he and his buddy were meditating for many years, and they always used the same technique, that when the train went by, instead of letting it be annoying and frustrating, they just put all their junk on it and just said, I'm going to put all my negative thinking, I'm going to put all of these thought constructs and ideas that I'm having right now, I'm just going to dump it on the train and let it take it away. So it's kind of like Calgon, take it away. Do you remember that ad? If not, you might be too young. But yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to just let spirit take it away, right? We want to sit in it. We want to get it. We want to get the message, and then we want to eliminate it and let it go forever. So we don't have to revisit it. But a lot of times we choose to revisit these things. So just keep your discernment on, and keep really in the energy of what is the lesson, as opposed to the victim. And of course, feel the emotions and express the emotions in the best way that you can, so that you can not find yourself shoving it down, but letting it go. It's all about letting go. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to questions here. So I'm looking. So are there nefarious energies at play right now? And is that what's causing me suffering? Well, there's always energies, nefarious energies at play. I mean, that is just planet Earth and duality. Until we've reached a completely new Earth, and we're living in a state of oneness, we're always going to have the dark and the light. I would say that the offering here is to not focus on nefarious or dark as bad. Yes, they carry lower vibrations, and yes, they can feel terrible, and yes, they're having an impact on us right now, because it is the Great Awakening. I think there's another question here too about the Great Awakening, but we want to feel into these energies and understand them, because The dark and the light are part of us. It's the duality, it's the yin and the yang. It's so important that we as light workers and way showers and just light-filled beings really, really get this. Otherwise, the dark can come in and just take us off our feet unknowingly in our naivety. So we don't want to be naive to darker energies. Kind of piling on a few things here, but there was another thing that came to mind, that I was talking with someone who was thinking about doing a ketamine journey in a clinic, and they were like, oh, I'm going to focus on the light, and I'm going to make sure that I don't see anything, I don't want to see anything bad. And I was like, afterwards I reflected on that a little bit more, and I'm like, we just have to get away from this idea about bad, because if there's something that feels dark that comes forward, let's say in the psychedelic journey, like with ketamine, it's because there's something in your subconscious mind that needs to come forward. Welcome it. Don't dismiss it. Don't try to shove it away. You don't have to sit in the suffering of it. You can ask your higher self, you can ask source, you can ask the medicine to help you transmute it, right? So if we see something dark, we can always go to the light, whether we're in a journey or not. You can always ask for the light. You can always choose to raise your vibration. But I'm offering that we sit with some of these things that feel scary and dark, because there's still projections. There's our shadow side, the shadow of a doubt that comes in that stops us from our own ascension process. So if you're on this call, I'm sure you're here as an awakening agent. You're here to awaken yourself. You're here to awaken others. You're here to shine the light and show the way. And so I think it's really relevant that we really understand this darker aspect of ourselves. I talk a lot about it in the book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. It's, in the sections about black magic, as I'm living in Bali, and a really good section, because I really thought I was in Bali to live in the light, and come to find out I was there to learn more about the dark and black magic and all these good things. But in the darker and the lower vibrations, that is also where we create. So we don't want to shy away from it. So please don't try to label them good and bad per se, but there are nefarious energies at play. Is that what's causing the suffering? I wouldn't say it exactly like that, because I would say that we need to experience, now hang with me, we need to experience suffering to know bliss. It is what we're here on planet Earth in duality for. Now, can we transcend that? Absolutely. Jesus did, Buddha did, Yogananda, who's right down the road, did. So as humans, we can transcend the suffering, because it's just the suffering in our minds, right? And that's why we want to unravel the mind, because the suffering resides there. And it's deep and it's interwoven. And I like to talk a lot about the invisible stitch, because a lot of times there's an invisible stitch, an idea that we don't recognize, that is tethering us to a thought form or an idea or a construct that we are desperately wanting to let go of. But because it's so ingrained in our own mind, and then it's being reflected everywhere out in the external environment, sometimes it's really, really hard to get to it and to see it. And that's where I think a lot of different modalities come in handy. Other people that have more psychic abilities, maybe they're tapped into, really seeing through the veil. They can help you. They can help you see things that maybe you're wanting to see, but you're just not quite there yet. Psychedelic journeys are also really great for this, bringing that stuff forward that your mind is protecting you from. Actually, it's protecting you from seeing some of this pain and agony, but in the process of protecting you, it's actually facilitating more pain and suffering, right? So we don't want to avoid it. We want to dive deep into it, move through it, and come out the other side and learn the lesson, right? So if you are in deep suffering right now, I'm not discounting how that feels. I am saying feel into it, because if you don't feel into it, then you're not actually transmuting it. You're just shoving it down, and it will come back later. So the idea is, on this awakening ascension journey, that we are taking everything that comes in, letting it flow through, processing it, really getting into the depths of what did I call this in for, and then releasing it and letting it go. And if there's people that are around you that aren't facilitating you having the opportunity to do that, then you might want to consider, how can I change my environment? Who do I need to maybe let go of in my life? Who do I want to bring into my life. Maybe you want more friends that are more enlightened or higher vibration. Maybe you want to let go of people that you know are keeping you in these circuitous loops of thoughts. It's really a very personal decision for you to decide. But I digress a little bit. Yes, of course, there's nefarious energies. I would say don't look at them as bad, and maximize whatever lesson and learning you have called in for your personal growth. All right, let's look here. Okay, so why do we have suffering? I mean, I think we just covered that. Really, if we don't know tall, we don't know short. If we don't know light, we don't know dark. And so while we're here, this is our lesson to really, really understand all the duality that's at play, all the polarity that's at play, and experiencing being human. And instead, we're experiencing a lot of doing, human doing as opposed to human being. And it's always about getting back to that being aspect of ourself. And how do we do that? It's quite simple. We just go here. We just go to our heart center. We go here deep within ourselves and get out of here, get out of the mind. I am a master at the mind. I love my mind. I use my mind all the time. But I'll tell you that my heart is much more intelligent, because my heart is connected to the innate intelligence within all of us, and that source is constantly here showing us. So in fact, I got a comment, I'll mention this. I got a comment on one of my videos, and the comment was something like, I had talked about source apparently in that clip, and it appeared to be a little bit triggering for this person in the sense that they said, only accepting Jesus is the way. And I haven't responded to it yet, and I will. And what I can agree with is that Jesus was an incredibly enlightened master that came here to help all of humanity and to teach by showing the way. And so if we could all emulate what Jesus did and how Jesus navigated the earth plane and this third dimensional constructs and 5D plus, absolutely, I am with you. I am with you. Follow the templates that these enlightened masters have given us. But there's also probably something to be said for our own illusion when it comes to religion and spirituality and thinking that something is outside of us. If Jesus were here today, I know he would tell us that everything is within, that everything that he's showing us is within ourselves, and that he's only here as an example to help us really step into that true path, that true calling, that true passion and purpose that we came to earth to express ourselves as. So it's always about self-expression through our highest level of discernment and consciousness and awareness, right? So bringing in all of those into our everyday lives. And again, Jesus, Buddha, Yogananda, they're all great examples of how we can do this. So yeah, I agree with you in so many ways. Okay. Do you think now is a specific time for the Great Awakening? I do think that now, every moment of now is the perfect time. Eckhart Tolle wrote an entire book on this. I feel like we talked about this last week. And it's always about the power of now. With that said, I do think that collectively there are more and more people around the world, all different shapes, sizes, colors, ethnicities, cultures, that are waking up. They're waking up to oneness. They're waking up to what it's like to live in expanded states of consciousness. And so, yes, I do think that now is a very interesting and unique time. I think that there's been times like this throughout all of history, though. I think we've felt through all generations that there was some massive thing that caused us suffering, and that it was the Great Awakening, and it is the Great Awakening. And every day, but more and more people now are popping through the veil. More and more people are wanting to know the truth. More and more people are wanting to take the red pill. I recently, just the other night, watched The Matrix again after not watching it for, I don't know, 20 years or something. I guess it came out in 1999, right? Was that the right time? And it's actually one of the movies that Axel recommends in the Awakening and Healing Handbook that's on the website bethbell.me. So in the handbook, I've included Axel's top 10 awakening movies. And of course, The Matrix is one of them. But I was keen to see it again. A friend of mine hadn't seen it ever. And so I said, yeah, I would love to just go back into that and see what that's all about. And if you look back in 1999 and like what was coming through from that movie, it's amazing. It's amazing what was being channeled. All the way back to the philosophers. They were channeling, everyone's channeling the same thing. They're channeling the same thing about this all being an illusion. And it's just coming through in a little bit different packages, but it's all the same thing, to be able to get to this concept of the holographic universe, which, years ago I studied. And I also have that book in the Awakening and Healing Handbook, because there's many, many books that I reference in there that I think are incredible for our awakening journeys. They just give us reminders and insights as to how this place all got put together and how we're going to, dismantle it, one person at a time, because it's dismantling our own mind. That's all it is. And releasing and relinquishing ourselves into this higher vibrational dimension where we can still be here on planet Earth. We can still contribute. We can still be part of everything that we called ourselves in to do, but we're just doing it from a blissfully neutral state, right? Where we're just taking things as they come. That we're not forcing things. We're not trying to make things happen. We show up, we shine the light, we're diligent, we stay the course when we're passionate about something, and that when we're following our purpose. So it does require that we show up. It does require intuitive risk taking. It does require an element of being present and participating, but it doesn't have to be about this hard-nosed doing. I think that's the thing that people are always so frustrated with, is like, gosh, I don't want to be in this corporate life. Well, you can be in the corporate life. You just have to change your lens of how you're looking at it. Because, and maybe you're not supposed to be in the corporate life, right? Like, you can leave. I left the corporate life. I'm not telling everybody to leave the corporate life. I don't think everybody should. I don't think everybody's ready to. I don't think everybody needs to. The corporate life can be an incredible support system for you. Incredible support system, because it's always about, what is my lens about all the characters that are in my workplace? What is my lens about my relationship to my work and what I'm doing at my work? That's what's the most important thing. So you don't have to leave. You don't have to stay. You just have to be in here. You just have to go inside, and you have to say, okay, how am I going to change my lens of perception so that I can be, in Axel's words, the happiest mother effer on the earth, right? That's the only reason we're here, he says. It's the only reason. So it's always about our own lens, our own projections, our own ideas about the role that other people are playing. So if you've got somebody at work who's just like, got you, they are an angel. Find out why, for you, not for them. Find out what it is for you that you're asking them to show you. Maybe it's an aspect of yourself. Maybe it's something that you just needed to see coming from someone else in a different way. So dig into that, see what's happening. All right. The question was, do you think now is the time of the Great Awakening? And yes, I do. But I also think that every moment of now has always been the time for the Great Awakening. And as I said, I do think that there's something very special right now happening. As much as we don't want to have specialness, as A Course in Miracles would tell us, there's just an interesting time where the vibration level is rising, more people are awakening, and it's a beautiful time on planet Earth. We, as awakening agents, should choose to see it that way, I guess. Maybe those aren't the right words. I don't like should choose. Have the option to choose. We have the option to choose how we are going to interact with our external environment. And it doesn't always have to be happy. I know I have had the grumps for the last couple of months have been tough. Yeah, I get it. I get it. There's times when we're just grumpy, and that's okay. And give yourself permission to do that. Just be cautious as to how you project your grumpiness out to someone else, because then you're just doing what the coworkers that bug you do to you. And that's not what we want to do. We don't want to project our own anger and feelings and our own mind mess out into other people. We want to be able to clean it, cleanse it, clear it, and shine our light back out to other people. Because when we do, positivity, the virus of positivity is the best virus to have, because when one person is positive, they start a butterfly effect. And so you can make a difference, one person at a time, by being that happy person and by exuding that happy thing. So I'm not saying fake it. I'm saying feel into it. When you get yourself to that happy place, go out and shine the light and be happy with others and allow them to be happy with you. So that's the difference a lot of times that we're here to make. It's just smiling at the person that's right in front of us. And that is oftentimes the reason why we're here, is to be in connection with others. And it doesn't have to be some special relationship. All right, so yes, now is a great time of the Great Awakening. What modality do you think is best for difficult times? Well, there's so many modalities. And again, I mentioned them all in the Awakening Healing Handbook. If you haven't already read Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics, one of the easiest, the cheapest is breath work. I mean, yes, of course, go to attend a class. I think it's great to have instructors that can help you to really realize, like, am I breathing here or am I breathing here? Like, am I in my belly or am I shallow? Am I in fight or flight, or am I in that relaxed place of deep belly breathing? Because that's what we need to be doing in difficult times. So yes, you can go to class, you can go to sessions, you can buy books, you can do workshops, but you can also just do it for free sitting in your chair, right? It's like, just let's just try it together. If you're listening, just right now, let's all just do one big deep breath, a big deep breath, and take it all the way into your belly. I want you to do that like belly push out when you breathe in, right? Just that count in with eight seconds. So breathe in. And breathe out. And you can feel the stillness that comes with one breath. It was free, it was available, we've got clean air, and we can be grateful at the same time because of it, right? We've got clean air, we've got the ability to breathe, it doesn't cost us anything to do it. So that's the one that comes to mind right now. It also sets us back into our body, because a lot of times the mind has got us racing, and we're out there and we're looking at the storylines, we're evaluating the storylines. But when we just breathe and we focus on, the breath coming in through the nose, breathing it out through the mouth, and feeling the air, just give your mind a break and just think about the nostrils. See if you can feel the nose hairs. See if you can feel the temperature of the air as it comes in and as you blow it out. Right? It's so relaxing. If we taught our children this, many of you, I'm sure you do, to just breathe when things happen, right? How far forward we would be in our life. But instead, a lot of times we get taught to do the fight and flight. Hurry up, get out, get going, do something different, make it stop. And so when we breathe into it, then we really become present with it, and our awareness expands. Our presence and our sphere of influence of our love and our light gets brighter. And that's what we want to be doing, right? We want to be shining our light and really being grounded in who we are, where we are, and what we represent, knowing who we really are. So, all right, let's go on to the next one. All right, and it's 11:44. Interesting, another interesting time. I think, let me look really quick. I think that was it on what I've seen here on Zoom. So let me just toggle back over to YouTube. Let me see if I can find our live video here and see if there's anything. Okay, so I don't see any other questions that are coming in right at this moment. So let's come back here. I don't see anybody else. Anyone else here on the live Zoom? Do you have any additional questions? Anything that you want to roundtable? Anything that you want to bring up? I'm happy to answer them. If not, we will see you next week. I hope that you will hit the bell, subscribe, and send all your questions. You can send them on private messenger. You can come on next week live on Zoom. The link is in the the invite, and I would love to hear you. I would love to see you. We won't have you on video. We'll just have your voice, but I can see you here on Zoom if you sign in. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much for joining in. And until next time, wishing you much bliss and love on life's journey.